Well, greetings everyone. Welcome to the Apptrepreneur show. I am your host Kevin, the Apptrepreneur, and this is your daily dose of technology discussions, apps, and entertainment, and sometimes a little in between. And maybe even once in a while, the gig economy, maybe, or are we? Because today's going to be a very interesting episode. Today's going to be a very loaded episode. Today I am going to be speaking first from the heart, and then we will talk about other topics from the heart. Because that's what the Apptrepreneur show is. It's my show. It's me talking about things that I find interesting, and I want to do it with all of you. Now here's the thing. We do this show so that we can not only share these topics, but that we can interact and we can talk with one another. And during the show, you are allowed to ask questions and make comments, and we will address as many of them as possible after the main topics. And I see we have George here. Welcome, George. So glad you could be here. But here's the thing. I've noticed the last few live streams have gotten a little tense, to put it mildly, a little tense. And maybe part of it is my fault, but maybe part of it is also not my fault. See, I know right now it's a scary time. And during scary times, especially during election years and when there's pandemics, there's a lot of disagreements. And, I get emotional about things just as much as anyone else. So yesterday, we had talked. I had mentioned that, last week that I was feeling some symptoms and I decided to get tested for COVID-19. It's just a very logical thing to do. We're in a pandemic. My wife has a compromised immune system. Maybe she didn't. Maybe I wouldn't care as much. Selfishly, I think I'm man enough to admit that. But because I do care about that, I got tested. Now, I was negative. And then, of course, what should have been like a happy, I'm glad that wasn't what it was, turned into like a 30 to 40 minute back and forth about masks and things like that. Things that you really, when you get down to it, you can't change anyone's mind over. I wish you could. I wish you could point to the science. I wish you could point to the countries and say, see, where people follow these rules, they've done a very good job at kicking each other's butts, but then someone pulls some conspiratorial theory YouTube video from someone who has no bachelor's degree, no PhD, no schooling in medicine whatsoever. It's just a feeling they have. And of course, it gets testy. And so things like that happen. And then afterwards, I was scrolling through my comments. And I read a comment that struck a nerve with me. Well, maybe not a nerve, but it struck me because I've read this comment before from other people and from a lot of people. And I've read this particular comments on other people's channels as well. And that comment says, you are the most toxic member of the gig economy community. And I'm so glad that you're struggling. Well, here's the thing. Let's clear something up before we get started. First of all, I'm not exactly struggling. I know that people look at views and subscribers and things like that, and they try to measure your worth based on your YouTube channel. Personally, I don't. I base my worth on my personal life and whether or not I like myself or not, or my life, or my friends. That's what I put my value in. Having a hit YouTube channel is nice. It's not the end of the world if you don't have one. And by the way, I have a few YouTube channels. This is not the only YouTube channel I run, but it is the main one. It is the main one. But I have to be honest, I'm enjoying working on the other channels a heck of a lot more these days. And let me explain why. The reason this comment struck me so much is because for the first time I'm really looking at this comment. You are a toxic member of the gig economy community. What does that mean exactly? Seriously, what does that mean? See, here's the thing. I think I'm both blessed and cursed to have been doing this channel for a few years. I'm blessed because, I caught the gig economy, community when it was just getting started and when it was fun and when it was fresh and when we all had ideas about how we were going to make the most money and we were looking forward to basically running our own businesses through the Uber, Lyft, and Postmates apps. I remember that time when, you had Uberman and Jerome and Drive Girl Drive and Uber Hints, and, for the most part, we were all happy. Now, there was still some, for lack of a better word, high school drama. Simple Driver didn't like Rideshare Professor, and Jermaine didn't like me, and Geo didn't like anyone, and that hasn't really changed much, to be perfectly honest. But it was overall a lot more fun. Now, here's the thing. I've been talking to people, other gig economy YouTubers as well, because believe it or not, I actually have a personal relationship with most of them on some level. There's a few that I don't, but most of them, I talk to them. I talk to Dustin when we're not filming. I talk to Mark. I talk to Cecily. I haven't talked to Randy in a while, but, I have talked to him. We've hung out a couple times. I've talked to Torsten. I talked with Dark Road Run quite a bit, actually. Me and him would probably hang out quite a bit. I've talked to Dave the Uber slave. I talk to these people. Offline, it's not like our lives are about the gig economy offline. We have other interests, and it's fun to talk to them about these things. But you might be noticing something going on recently. A lot of people are getting out of this. Like, Uberman's no more. He's auto auctions rebuilds. I don't think Dave the Uber slave isn't doing much. He's been deactivated. Geo, he's not doing rideshare anymore. He's doing stocks now. Tony from Team LMDCU, he basically admitted this isn't fun anymore. Because what happened to the gig economy community is that when this all started out, it was all fun. And we were helping each other. And when Uber started to piss on us, there was a sense of community, like we're going to join arms and we're going to fight back and we're going to change Uber for the better. And there was a lot of camaraderie in that, and a lot of people stopped driving for Uber. Unfortunately, things didn't really change. Uber had the money to basically wait us out and knew that, if we weren't working for them, we wouldn't be complaining about them for very long. And true enough, those people have moved on. I go back to older videos, and I see people who used to comment all the time that no longer do because, frankly, they probably don't watch anymore. They've moved on. That's just the nature of this business. And now we have a different type of viewer watching these videos. And they're the people who got in quite a bit later for the most part. And for whatever reason, they really like doing this. And hey, if you like doing this, no one can tell you not to enjoy this. No one can tell you not to do it, not to enjoy it. But here's the thing. They watch people like me and people like other Uber tubers, which I'm not going to name them, but I've seen these people leave the comments on their channels too. And they call the people who report the news, who talk about the topics, and share the real dirt on them that they're toxic. Hey, you're a toxic member of the gig economy community because you've never got anything nice to say. You're not here to help people. You're just here to get clicks and views. And my question is, and who cares? Seriously, who cares? You want me to say Uber's great? Why? Do you want me to lie to you? You want me to lie to you? You want me to say get in this business? No, I'm not going to tell you get in this business. Heck, I took down my Uber and Lyft promo codes years ago. I think I took down the Lyft code. I think I did. If I didn't, I should do that. But I haven't been pushing my promo codes for a long time. I could say Uber and Lyft are good companies and they will eventually change. If you fight long enough, you will eventually convince them that you are worth fighting for, and they will eventually come around. I could also say that if you watch Batman and Robin enough times, eventually you'll see it's really not that bad. It's a really quite a wonderful satire, and George Clooney was brilliant as Batman. I mean, I could say that. It doesn't mean it's true. So, here's the point of this little rant, if you will. When I read these comments about being a toxic member of the gig economy community. First of all, it's not toxic to tell the truth and to spread the word. Interestingly, there is an UberTuber online who I will not name, but you probably know who he is. He sits in his car and he smokes and he complains about everyone else because, they don't like him, and he's sharing his perceived shortfalls of everyone, and then he doesn't actually do anything to improve his life, but, says that you're the creator of your own destiny, no one's going to do it for you, and then he acts like, he's the victim when people rightfully say he's a jerk. I mean, you have those people out there. That person I consider to be toxic. I consider that person to be a toxic member of the community. But he's not really part of the community either because he's not doing rideshare. I believe that the toxic ones are Uber and Lyft. And if you're coming here and you want me to tell you, like, everything's going to be okay, like Uber and Lyft is eventually going to take care of you, Postmates will eventually take care of you, and I'm just being a negative Nancy and I'm being a toxic person because I'm not telling you these things, you know what? You can leave if you don't like that message. It doesn't mean I'm being toxic. It means I might be the only one actually telling you the truth. And if you can't accept the truth, if you can't handle the truth, then hey, YouTube's a big place. You can go watch anyone else's movies. Here's the other thing. I have stated multiple times that I do not want the Apptrepreneur to be an Uber channel anymore. And maybe it's time to just make that official and make the statement, this is not a gig economy channel anymore. It's not. Yes, I still talk about Uber a little bit, but you know who I'm talking about a lot more? I'm talking about Amazon a lot more, because Amazon really concerns me. I'm talking about Twitter and Facebook. I'm talking about Chuck E. Cheese because for some reason, Chuck E. Cheese really caught on people. I'm talking about the streaming services, and even though the replays don't show up on this channel, I put them on the vlog channel, I'm talking about the streaming services. The Apptrepreneur show is maybe 5% gig economy now. This is not a gig economy channel anymore. So why are you saying like, oh, well, you're not doing what this guy's doing? Yeah, that's right. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to do what I want to do. And you should want to do what you want to do. And I know it's hard to have completely happy back and forth live streams during all of this, especially during a pandemic, especially during the mask controversies. And here's the thing, I will not apologize for my statements on wearing masks. Wear a damn mask. That is my stance. Now, you don't have to share that stance. That's fine. But do not get personal with me. Do not get personal with other people. You shout fake news. I'm sorry. You're getting put on a timeout. But that's the thing. I am here because I am going to be real with you. And here's one of the great things about having, admittingly, lower views than usual. You can say what you want to say, and either no one's going to care, or you're just going to lose everything. So, am I a toxic member of the gig economy community? Personally, I don't think so. Partly because I don't think there is a community anymore, especially when you consider how many people left. I mean, Randy left, Dave left, Mark kind of left, Drive Girl Drive doesn't do her channel. You know, how many people are left? There's not many people left in this anymore. I mean, so, guys, face it, this is a topic that is dead in the water. Once in a while, we can talk about a news story because it might be interesting to talk about the companies, but they're not going to change. You know, I don't recommend anyone really get into it. I think that's helping people. Some people think that's not helping people. So, but if you want to do it, hey, that's fine. You do it. You know, no one's saying you have to. And yes, I think you should wear the mask. Whatever you do. Well, not whatever you do. I mean, if you're going to be in public and in an area, wear the mask. If you're going to be walking in a park and there's like no one around for 3 miles, okay, fine, whatever, nobody cares. But anyway, that's the little mini rant. And as a side note, we will be tweaking the show just a wee bit so that the main topic of the video of this live stream, it will not have its own segment, because I think that's just redundant and it's spamming and it just saves a little bit of editing. However, we are going to now, we do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 topics to talk about today. And I am happy to say that none of them are about rideshare. Although one of them is in a roundabout way related to rideshare. So who knows? You might find that one interesting. So anyway, thank you for joining. I see we have 20 people here, and thank you for commenting so much. Hey, feel free to give it a thumbs up if you agree. And if you don't, well, yeah, no, you give it a thumbs down. You can tell me why you disagree. We'll probably have a lot to discuss after the show. However, in the meantime, before we get to the discussion area, although I see Dark Road Run, I see my dad is here, I see Kevin Anderson here, I see Oscar Mendez is here, Jeff is here, and RLI, and George. Love all you guys. Thank you for coming. And we're going to continue now. And we're going to start with main topic number 1. And our first main topic is about Amazon workers in Germany planning a 2-day strike over COVID-19 infections. Now, Amazon, when this whole thing started, I'm almost ashamed to admit. I'm not going to take the videos down, but you can see them. Back a few months ago, around February, March, you can see I foolishly praised Amazon for their response to the COVID-19 pandemic. I thought Jeff Bezos' response was reasonable. I thought it was doable. But after he made the response, it turned out that Amazon was basically paying a lot of lip service. They did not have good social distancing measures in there. They did not have mask coverings for most of their workers. They fired people who protested or complained about the unsafe working conditions. They did not provide what they needed to for these people to stay healthy. And they were not very good at shutting down the shipment centers when COVID-19 came around. Well, thankfully, America has finally started to protest them a little bit, and they've started walking off the jobs. But Germany and France, those European countries, they've been protesting Amazon a lot better than we have been. And they are planning another one because Germany is planning this 2-day strike. Now, here's what Engadget has to say about it. Amazon efforts to deal with COVID-19 at its warehouses haven't been enough to sway at least some workers. The labor union Verdi has announced that staff at 6 sites in Germany will strike for a minimum of 2 days over a claimed lack of transparency regarding infections. There had been at least 30 to 40 workers infected, Verdi representative Orhan Ackerman told Reuters, arguing that Amazon valued profits over safety. No big surprise. In fact, let's even be a little fair. Most companies do value profits over safety. However, most companies have also been better than they usually have. Because here's the thing, if you are not doing this safely and you are getting your workers sick and then they cannot work for you, that will affect your profits. So most companies have been taking safety seriously in these trying times. Amazon has not been one of them. We've asked Amazon for comment. In a statement to Reuters, it denied that it didn't prioritize safety and pointed to $4 billion in safety measures for both employees and customers. Well, here's the funny thing. That $4 billion that you promised, you didn't get the masks out. You didn't get the safety measures. You're just getting them installed. And that emergency payment, you stopped that before the emergency was even over. So that doesn't matter too much. The striking workers might not be swayed by that argument. There have been ongoing complaints about Amazon's alleged opaque, I can't pronounce that word, response, including a lack of exposure info and unclear instructions on what to do when people fall ill. Staff has also pointed out difficulties in getting both paid and unpaid leave that could help them avoid infecting colleagues. Yeah, in fact, one of the things that Amazon's been accused of is at first they said, hey, if you're feeling sick, you'll be sent home, you'll still be paid, we just want to make sure everyone's safe. Turns out that wasn't true. If it turns out they suspected you were sick, they sent you home and then they docked you half a day's wage of work. So, they want to know just how safe it really is, and strikes like this theoretically push Amazon to respond. Well, it does, but Amazon never has a good response. So anyway, unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot to say about this one. I think it's Amazon just being Amazon. I think they I think, frankly, we've said everything we can say about them. They're going to give a terse little thing about how they are committed to safety, that they spent this much money, and there you go. Now, Jeff has asked, how do these people know they got sick at work? We all get sick from somewhere. Well, if 40 people are reporting that they're sick at work, and an Amazon warehouse is an enclosed area, and they're not providing masks, they're not enforcing social distancing, you can take a pretty good guess. Like, I mean, maybe it's hard to prove, but this isn't the first time Amazon employees have reported getting sick. The bottom line is, yeah, someone probably got sick from somewhere else other than Amazon, but then once they bring it into the warehouse and other people get sick, then you're getting sick at Amazon. However, we are going to end the topic there because, again, it's just Amazon being Amazon, so what else can we do? But I would like to know what your thoughts on it are. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. And with that out of the way, let's talk about main topic number 2. And the second main topic is about something that we've never talked about on this channel before, but I think it's actually kind of good for everyone. Now, here's the thing. I mentioned like a couple months ago that I have gotten off Facebook. I got off Facebook because I was really, frankly, that's true toxicity. When you get on social media just brings out the worst in people. Nobody wants to share how good their day is. Nobody wants to share what their daily routine looks like. No one wants to say, I talked to my mom and it was great. They want to complain about Trump, or they want to complain about masks, or they want to complain about the police, or something like that. And it just got annoying. Interestingly, I'm still on Twitter because Twitter is still an effective way to share my videos and articles. And I do find myself on Twitter more and more. And the more I find myself on Twitter, the more I'm like, maybe I should not be doing this. And after reading this article, I will probably not be deleting Twitter, but I won't be spending time on it anymore. And it says this: Doomscrolling is slowly eroding your mental health. Now, what is doomscrolling? Well, doomscrolling, from what I understand, it's like a new term, because we have like a new term for things now, is basically you're staying up late at night and you're looking through your Twitter feed or your Facebook feed, whatever it is, and you're just reading whatever's trending. And by the way, if it's trending, it's not trending because it's a good thing. It's trending because it's a bad thing. And you're just reading, bad tweet after bad status update, after bad tweet, after bad article, after scary headline, and you're just reading people's fear, and you're in turn internalizing that fear. And you read more and more because you are scared of the doomsday. Now, this is actually not something new. This is actually fairly common. This has been around for a long time because it was under a different name, but back in 2001, when the World Trade Center was attacked by terrorists and fell, there were a lot of people, especially those with 24-hour news stations, who would just sit on the couch and watch the news all day. They were looking for the next piece of information. Here's what they're doing. They're looking for comfort. They're looking for comfort that things are going to get better. And spoiler alert, it will get better. Things will always get better. Because eventually we stop getting pissed off at one another. We talk to each other and we help each other out. That's what happens. But during the heat of the moment, it's scary. And people were lying on the couches and just feeding their fear. They're just feeding their fear. South Park, when they came back after 9/11, they came back and they made like a bombastic satire of, Afghanistan and Osama bin Laden, and they commented on how the kids' parents were sitting at home watching CNN all day, basically feeding into their fear and paralyzing themselves from the rest of the world. And how unhealthy that was. It's one of the reasons why, I tell people, including my parents, by the way, like, stop watching the news. Seriously, stop watching the news. It's not helping you anymore. All you do is you get more and more upset and you become more fearful. Well, this also happens with Twitter and Facebook. And so it's a new thing called doom scrolling. And here's what Arc Technica wrote about it. It's 11:37 p.m. and the pattern shows no signs of shifting. At 1:12 a.m., it's more the same. Thumb down, thumb up, Twitter, Instagram, and if you're feeling particularly wrong, masochistic, Facebook. I like how they add especially if you're feeling particularly wrong and masochistic, Facebook. Ever since the COVID-19 pandemic left a great many people locked down their homes in early March, the evening ritual has been codifying. Each night ends the way the day began, in an endless scroll through social media in a desperate search for clarity. To those who become purveyors of the perverse exercise, like the New York Times' Kevin Roose, this habit has become known as doom surfing, or falling into deep, morbid rabbit holes filled with coronavirus content, agitating myself to the point of physical discomfort, erasing any hope of a good night's sleep. For those who prefer their despair to be portable, the term is doomscrolling, and as protests over racial injustice and police brutality following the death of George Floyd have joined the COVID-19 crisis in the news cycle, it's only gotten more intense. The constant stream of news and social media never ends. So now here's something where it got personal for me. For years, people have questioned the net benefits of platforms like Twitter and Facebook, and while some studies have found social media, when used responsibly, can have positive effects on mental health, it can also lead to anxiety and depression, or at the bare minimum, FOMO. And that's just the result of looking at too many brunch photos or links to celebrity gossip. Add in a global pandemic and civil unrest, and the possibility that social media networks are incentivized to push trending topics into your feed, and the problems intensifies. Quote, in a situation like that, we engage in these more narrow, immediate, survival-oriented behaviors. We're in fight or flight mode. Combine that with the fact that socially, many of us are not going into work and standing around the coffee maker engaging in collective sense-making, and the result is we don't have a lot of those social resources available in the same way, says Ellison. So this whole article is very fascinating. Hey, I'm going to read the end for you real quick. At the same time, it doesn't have to. Doom scrolling will never actually stop the doom itself. Feeling informed can be a salve, but being overwhelmed by tragedy serves no purpose. The burnout and a decline in mental health among the people whose level-headedness is needed most, that means you, dear reader. Amidst all the pain, isolation, and destruction of the past 6 months, it's not worth it to add on to the strain with 2 hours of excess Twitter every night. Perhaps now just needs to be the end times for your timeline. So that's kind of my I don't here's kind of why I'm bringing this up. I kind of did not realize I was doing this a lot in my own home. Like I said, I got off Facebook quite a while ago and I have felt immensely better. However, I am using Twitter more. And right now, what's going on Twitter is cancel culture. We might even be talking a little bit about cancel culture in one of today's topics. And the more of it that I watch, or not watch, I read, the less happy it makes me, and the more I realize this isn't healthy. You know, it's not healthy to just be watching people screaming angrily at their keyboards, and they're just so upset at everything in the world, and they can't help themselves, and they don't want to hear that maybe it's not as bad as it is. And I realize it's like, I don't want to be part of that. I don't want to be part of that anymore. I want to have my good night's sleep. You know, I have a friend who got really sick one time. He got cancer. And I won't reveal his name. Thankfully, he survived. But you know one of the first things he did when he found out he was sick with cancer? Most people, their response is to start reading up on cancer, the survival rates, things like that. He went to IMDb. He went to the list of the greatest 100 comedies of all time. This was obviously years ago, by the way, because this was when Netflix was still a fairly new thing. And he printed out the list. He crossed off the ones that he had seen. And he handed the list to his wife, and he said, go to the Blockbuster and Hollywood Videos and rent as many of these titles as possible. And what's he going to do? He's going to laugh. And he spent the next week or two laughing as hysterically as he could. And he felt so much better afterwards. And I kind of wonder, why aren't we like that? I mean, we have streaming, for God's sakes. We have Netflix, Hulu, although Hulu, we have so many of these sites that stream really funny comedy and good and feel-good stuff straight into our homes. Why are we spending our time on Twitter and Facebook and even YouTube to a certain extent with the fear-mongering going on? Why aren't we watching Parks and Recreation? Why aren't we watching The Simpsons? Why aren't we watching I Love Lucy? Why aren't we watching stuff that makes us laugh, that makes us feel good? Instead, we're on Twitter every night looking at all of these super negative things, and we're just internalizing the problem. So the point of this section right here is that doom scrolling is a real thing. And I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention because I didn't realize I was doing it in my personal life. And now that I am aware, I know I have to stop. I will be so much better if I stop. I think you'll be a little bit happier too, if we're being perfectly honest. But I would like to know what your thoughts on this are. Do you think you are a doom scroller? Like, if you do this, does it actually make you feel good? If yes, why? If no, why not? I would love to know what your thoughts on this are. So you know the drill. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one. Now then, before we get to the next topic, by the way, if you just joined us live, thank you for joining us. If you could do us a favor and give a thumbs up, that would be really, really great. It really helps out the algorithm. It always, doing these hour-long live streams can take a lot out of your throat if you're not careful. So anyway, let's move on to main topic number 3. And I'm sorry about main topic number 3 in advance. I know that this is going to be a sensitive topic. This is going to be a sensitive topic. But you know what? Like I said, I got to the point where I just do not care anymore. So, fair warning, there be masks ahead. So, by the way, to explain that joke, years ago when I was reading the digital bits and the format war was going on, and there was the HD DVD versus Blu-ray camp, people told the site owners that they were tired of all the format war discussion, so they decided to headline the discussions with "There be high-def dragons ahead." So, that's... I realize I never actually explained that, but So anyway, look, the masks. I'm not going to get in... Well, actually, I'm going to get into it. What I'm going to say, wear your damn mask. That's my opinion on it. You know my opinion of it. Don't like it. There's other videos you can go watch. But what's really pissing me off is to what extent people are going to not wear the masks. Now, here's the thing. If you feel the masks don't do anything, okay, that's fine. You are allowed to believe they don't do anything. If you believe that you have a breathing problem and you can't wear a piece of cloth over your face for 5 to 15 minutes, you can believe that. I think it's idiotic, but you are allowed to believe that. And if you think it's taking away your freedoms, no comment. That's a delusion I think you have. However, I hope that we can all agree that just because you don't like wearing the masks, it does not give you the right to make phony face mask exemption cards, which are the latest scam. And I guess in a roundabout way, this does affect gig economy workers, particularly Uber and Lyft drivers. Because when I made videos saying that Uber and Lyft were going to start enforcing the masks, like basically if you're a driver, you have to wear a mask or you're not going to drive for the platform. Hence why you're an employee and not an independent contractor, but I digress. And I said, and they've also pointed out that if you are a rider, you can be refused service on Uber and Lyft if you're not wearing your mask. Now, people have gotten into like, oh, that's illegal, things like that. I'm not here to talk about that. Bottom line, it's their rules. You can either follow them or you don't have to use the service. But someone actually had emailed me fairly recently and said that they wanted to deny someone a ride because they didn't wear a mask, and the person showed them a face mask exempt card. Now they didn't have a picture of it, but they said, yeah, they handed me a card and I took them because I was scared. Like, well, shoot, if the doctor is issuing cards that says they don't have to wear a mask and I refuse them, like, could I get sued? Could I get deactivated? And the answer is no, you can't, because they aren't real. Now, I don't know if this was that particular person's card. Like I said, he didn't actually ask to take a picture of it. Like, it's already a tenseful enough situation as it is. But this is typically what people are handing people. A face mask exempt card. And it reads here, I am exempt from any ordinance requiring face mask usage in public. Wearing a face mask poses a mental and or physical risk to me. Under the Americans with Disabilities Act, I am not required to disclose my condition to you. And then to make it look all official, they put like a DOJ symbol on it. They put the number, and they remind people that you can be fined up to $75,000 for your first violation and $150,000 for any subsequent violations. And it says denying access to your business/organization will also be reported to the FTBA for further action. So this is playing dirty, in my opinion. This is playing dirty. And by the way, this is clearly not a real card. Official government license cards don't look like this. This was clearly printed up at home, and a lot of people have a laminator. Heck, Amazon sells them for $12. So anyone can make these. If you see one of these, don't fall for it. Now then, here's what the story says. Many versions of the card, which have since been shared across the internet, also feature the DOJ seal and the large eagle, CNN reported. According to its website, the Freedom to Breathe Agency, that should tell you what you need to know, is dedicated to stopping orders for mandatory masks, quote, from spreading nationwide and globally. It is not a state or federal agency. The Department of Justice, in a statement this week, said the cards are not official in any capacity and will not help those looking to skirt new standards implemented to slow the spread of the coronavirus. The agency has said the Department of Justice has been made aware of postings or flyers on the internet regarding the Americans with Disabilities Act and the use of face masks due to the COVID-19 pandemic, many of which include the Department of Justice seal. These postings were not issued by the department and are not endorsed by the department. The department urges the public not to rely on the information contained in these postings and to visit ada.gov for ADA information issued by any department. So, here's the thing. So here's what's going on. And, by the way, look at this. You can tell they're nice people, huh? But you see something like this, discard it. Let me tell you what the doctor's going to do. Because there are people who have real medical conditions in regards to this whole COVID-19 thing. There are people who, if they get sick, they would be in real big danger. And yes, these people who have concerns about this can talk to your doctors. You know what the doctor is going to tell you? Stay home. If you're that concerned about it, or if you have this condition, stay home. You are not exempt from wearing the mask. In fact, the doctor would even say, if you have the condition, you should wear the mask. If you're unable to wear the mask, definitely stay home. That's what the doctor's going to tell you. But these anti-maskers, the Freedom to Breathe Agency, this is so ridiculous. This is so ridiculous. They do things like this, and they wonder why people who are actually following the science are looking at them and going like, are you effing kidding me? Are you effing kidding me? Like, I'm not actually going to say the word. I tried to let this be a family-friendly show, but come on. Really? A fast mace exempt card? The funny thing is, I remember actually saying, like, if this was like a real thing, that eventually the government might have to issue these, but most doctors have said, like, no, we are not going to do this. We are not going to do this because we don't believe the masks cause the breathing problems that people say they do. If they're on a ventilator, guess what? They're already wearing a mask, and they're probably not going out anyway. So, if you're an Uber driver or just any business owner really, and you're, this thing shows up, throw it away. Throw it away. It's not real. You don't need it. You don't get special privilege over this. You just don't. So anyway, I know there's going to be a testy one, but I don't care anymore. We're going to talk about what I'm interested in. And of course I have to say, wear your damn mask. However, maybe you have another opinion. Love to know. Comment below. And as long as you are not doing flip-off emojis or cursing or shouting fake news or anything like that, you will not be hidden or banned from this channel. Share your opinions respectfully with one another. Have a good one. Now then, with that out of the way, let's talk about main topic number 4. And this is an equal amount of stupid, although unlike the last topic, I think most of us will agree that we are all in agreement that this is a stupid. So here's the thing. We've canceled a lot of media in the past 4 days. Gone with the Wind. Well, Gone with the Wind is back, but, we pulled that for a brief time. We're removing episodes of 30 Rock and The Office. We're taking off British shows from the 80s. Apparently John Cleese is canceled. Want to know who else has been canceled, more or less? Golden Girls. Yeah, the Golden Girls. Like, we're seriously doing this one. Now, the whole series hasn't been pulled, so relax. However, there was an episode of the Golden Girls where they're going to like an interracial wedding or something like that. And they come out wearing mud. Like, how women go to like these pedicure places and they put like the mud on them. I don't get it. It's something women do. My wife has tried to explain it to me. I don't get it. And they walk out wearing the mud and they're seen and they say something like, we're not racist. This is mud. And, the joke being, please don't misunderstand this. This isn't what it looks like because we know it's bad. Well, Hulu has pulled that episode. And they've actually been rightfully criticized for pulling it because it's not blackface. And I'm actually surprised that, they've gotten a lot of flack for this because, we've been so overcorrecting this last week that I honestly thought that this was going to be praised. But a lot of people, including black activists, were like, this is not a big deal. Like, what are you talking about? So let's look at this article. After Hulu recently removed an episode of The Golden Girls from its platform, critics are calling the streaming giant's decision an overcorrection. The episode in question, originally aired on NBC in 1988, is titled Mixed Blessings. It revolves around Dorothy, played by Beatrice Arthur, being concerned that her son is marrying a considerably older woman, Lorraine, played by Rosalind Cash. Meanwhile, Lorraine's mother, played by Virginia Capers, is upset because Dorothy's son is white and her daughter is black. The controversial scene, which I don't think it's that controversial, people are complaining that the episode was pulled because of it, comes when two of Dorothy's friends, Rose, played by Betty White, and Blanche, played by Rue McClanahan, are trying out a mud face mask and meet Lorraine's family for the first time. This is mud on our faces. We're not really black, Rose says, per The Hollywood Reporter. Twitter users were quick to criticize Hulu's decision, with the most prevalent argument being that the characters weren't actually wearing blackface. As Raider Roxanne Gay explained, removing this episode is weird, counterproductive, and stupid. It diminishes the effort to actually end racism. It's just so dumb. And Erica Williams-Simone here says, first of all, they were in mud masks, not blackface. And second of all, in what world does Stop Killing Us sound like please remove episodes of Golden Girls? I didn't see that ask on anyone's protest sign. To be clear, I'm not attacking Hulu. I would just hate for the seriousness of this moment and movement to get lost in symbolic and sometimes silly overcorrections. Impact on real lives should be the measure of any change worthy of a PR push. And, Ravine, Well, I'll read two more, but Ravine says, yeah, these companies and media platforms are trivializing the situation by sending the message that our demand for justice is as petty as removing episodes of The Golden Girls off a streaming platform. This is a calculated effort to cheapen our message. And Tori Griffin has said, black people didn't ask you to take down that Golden Girls episode. Mud facials and black people aren't synonymous. And by taking the episode down, you rob us of incredible black talent like Rosalind Cash and Virginia Capers. Interestingly, a very similar argument was made that when you take down Gone with the Wind, you remove Hattie McDaniel and Butterfly McQueen. So, anyway, this was silly. This was extremely silly. And, I've kind of avoided some of this talk. Like, I didn't feel like I was, well, maybe I was in a good position, but I didn't want to get into, like, the whole, the actor stepping down from Cleveland Brown and other thing like that. But this was just so silly. This is so silly. I mean, it was clearly not blackface, and I mean, what's next? Are you gonna start removing episodes where characters get a tan and they're a little darker than usual? Is that gonna be considered offensive now? I don't know. Where does the insanity end? It's the Golden Girls. But in all fairness, I don't watch that show. I've seen maybe a couple dozen episodes. Who hasn't? But it's not something I go way out of my way to watch. So anyway, I just think that's interesting, but I would like to know your thoughts on this. Do you think Hulu made the right decision to do this, or do you feel that they overcorrected themselves? I would love to know. I think most of us would be in agreement that this is silly, but you've got your thoughts. I want to hear them. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Now then, one more little sip of water. Oh, hey, we have Lisa and the Savage Scientist in the house. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. You came in, is everything okay? Alex M said he can't comment. Yeah, Alex M can't comment because he's being a jerk. He's cursing people out, he's flipping off the middle bird, and he's getting aggressive, so he is not allowed to comment for a while. If he decides he wants to behave himself, we'll talk about letting him back. So, but anyway, that high school drama aside, let's talk about main topic number 5. And the fifth, before we start main topic number 5, let me just ask someone a question. Do any of you actually watch live TV anymore? Seriously, do you actually watch live TV? Any of it. Live events? Do you have YouTube TV? Does it even a factor in what you do anymore? Or is streaming just so convenient that live TV is out the door? Because believe it or not, there are apps out there that will stream live TV. I have one of them. I have YouTube TV. And another app that will stream live TV is Hulu. And I always kind of felt, and I know for a while, Sony was doing it with PlayStation View, and it didn't really catch on, and Sling does it. But I always kind of felt like live TV on an app wasn't that important to a lot of people, because they would much rather just have it on demand than actually watch live TV. And yet, Amazon might soon be offering live TV with Prime Video. And this says a couple things to me. First of all, this says that live TV is a big deal still, but I'm shocked that if it is. And it also means that a couple of these other apps are going to go under, because once Amazon enters something, then other companies have to start shutting down shop. It's like a digital Walmart when Walmart would go to a small town and shut down the small businesses. But anyway, Amazon is looking to build out its Prime Video service with live programming, according to a report. Job listings and industry sources indicate that Amazon could be adding 24/7 live news, sports, music, and scheduled movies and programs to Prime Video. One listing described the initiative as a, quote, next-gen linear catalog to provide best-in-class linear TV experience, as first reported by Protocol. The e-commerce giant has been tinkering with live content for a while. It recently expanded a deal with the NFL to stream a Saturday game. In addition to Thursday night games, it also started offering select news streaming channels through Fire TV devices last year. Adding live TV to Prime could help Amazon stand out in an increasingly crowded marketplace for on-demand video. So, free apps that replicate the linear TV experience have seen a spike in engagement of late, particularly in the COVID-19 pandemic. A recent analyst by App Annie found that in May, Pluto TV and Spectrum TV, both of which offer live programming, surged in downloads. Now, this is interesting. This is fascinating to me because, again, I didn't think that Amazon was interested in live TV. I didn't know that live TV was that big of a thing. But, it does make a little bit of sense. You're inside the house. Maybe you don't really know what you want to watch. So what do? You do the old-fashioned channel surfing thing, except on a streaming platform. Like, maybe that's the thinking behind it. But once Amazon, if they actually include live TV with Prime Video, and by the way, I sense they will do it and they won't charge extra for it. I think they're just going to give it to Prime subscribers. Then that means, YouTube TV, probably not long for this world. Sling, probably not long for this world. Pluto, who knows? It's free, so maybe, but who knows? So I just think it's fascinating that we're at the point where even Amazon is saying that live TV might actually be a good thing. So it's going to be... I personally think the future of streaming channels and everything is that everyone's going to eventually have their own app. And I have multiple TV station apps. I have the CNN app. I have the Fox News apps. I have the PBS Kids app. And what you can do, you can find all the PBS Kids shows, stream it for free. I don't really watch it. It's more for the nieces and nephews. But, it's there and it's free. So I'm kind of wondering, why aren't TV stations and cable channels... Why don't they just do their live TV or whatever with their own free apps and have the advertisers do it that way? Why are we relying on this archaic thing? But now Amazon's going to get into it, and who knows? I think the TV stations need to cut Amazon out of the deal before Amazon controls their station as well. But that said, I would like to know what you think of all of this. Do you think this is a smart move for Amazon? Do you care about live TV streaming? What do you care about? Does this sound like a good idea? I'd love to know. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. And now, we are going to talk about the final topic of the show. And the final topic of the show involves a site that I have openly said I am no longer using anymore. Heck, I even said it in this very episode if you're watching this on the live stream. But Facebook has lost $60 billion in market value on pause in ad spending. Now, what is going on? Well, Facebook shares dropped roughly 1% on Monday as more advertisers joined the boycott of the social network. The continued slide followed an 8.3% loss on Friday amid the first round of pulled advertising. And we're talking about big companies too. We're talking about Starbucks. I think Microsoft just announced a boycott of Facebook. We're talking about, Pepsi. We're talking about a lot of big companies that are basically saying they're not going to advertise on Facebook anymore. Now, what are they doing? Well, here's the thing. The reason the companies are boycotting, I should say, Facebook is because they want Facebook to control hate speech. They want Facebook to control hate speech. They feel like Facebook does a very, very poor job of controlling hate speech, and that's what they're saying publicly. Now, to a certain extent, I agree with this. I think Facebook does a very bad job at policing hate speech. I mean, there's a reason we have the term keyboard warriors, because keyboard warriors get in your face. They are rude. They curse you out. They call you demeaning things, all because you don't agree with them. That's why they do it. And so they are rightfully called keyboard warriors because they would never do this to you in person. Some of them might, but most of them wouldn't. But on Facebook, everything is A-okay. Here's the thing, though. This has been going on for years. Well over a decade. Well over a decade this has been going on. This has been a growing problem. There was a movie that dealt a little bit with online bullying. it wasn't completely about online bullying, it was about bullying in general. It was called Bully. And after that movie, if the companies really cared about the effect that Facebook had on like kids who are viciously attacked online, they would have started their boycott then. But they didn't. And they didn't start the boycott when the anti-maskers were out there. They didn't start their boycott when the white supremacists were there. They didn't. You know when they decided to do the boycott? They decided to do the boycott when Facebook refused to remove a Donald Trump post citing free speech. Now then, this was actually a fairly famous post, one that, if I'm being perfectly honest, I did not agree with. But the president faced harsh criticism in a post, and this was when the writing started. He says, when the looting starts, the shooting starts, in reference to violent protests taking place in Minnesota in response to the death of George Floyd in police custody. Now, of course, I have to tell you, I do not think this is a wise thing to write. It is certainly not something the President of the United States should write. This is not unity. This is division, which is always been my biggest problem with Trump. Even if he does things that I agree with, even if I don't think he's wrong on certain things, his biggest failure is that he does not unite people. In fact, he seems to enjoy stirring the pot quite a bit. Some people like that. I personally don't. But now, as for this post, even though I do not like it, I do not agree that it is encouraging violence. Yes, you could read it as that way, or you can read it as, hey, when the looting starts, the shooting stops, referring to the police. Like, don't loot because they might shoot you. So, this post could be read in a couple different ways. Therefore, while I do not like it and I disagree with it, and it should not be posted in my view, I don't believe it is directly inciting violence. It could be interpreted, though. That's my stance. Now, I don't know how anyone feels about that stance, but we're going to have to move on. Basically, Facebook refused to remove this post. And they refused to remove it because of free speech. And you know what? I actually agree with Facebook on this one. I 100% agree. Facebook scares me sometimes. I don't like how they've gotten into our collective psyches. I don't like how they have literally, like the Matrix, plugged in, and we now live and breathe on Facebook. We even live alternate lives on Facebook. I think Facebook has done far more harm than good as long as I've been around and as long as I've seen it around. Because I remember a time without Facebook. However, I agree that, hey, if you are going to be a platform and not a publisher, unless the posts in question actually directly incite violence, then it's free speech. You can hate the person for writing the post as much as you want. You can hate what's being read or being written, but if it's not illegal, you don't remove it. Now, that some people say, well, but look, even you admitted that this post is not unifying. It's divisive. It's like, yeah, well, that's actually a bigger reason why I dislike Facebook in general. But if Facebook is going to exist, then you need to let things like this go because this is not direct violence. So here's the thing. All these years that Facebook has been a problem, all these years that Facebook has been responsible for cyberbullying, for division, Facebook themselves manipulated algorithms and did a test on users that they were not even aware of, where they would give some people, a bunch of happy articles and other people a bunch of negative articles and see how people reacted to that, like what it did to their mental health. And they did that public experiment, and I think they were wrong for doing that. Facebook scares me. But as a platform, they are not the ones who can decide who gets to write what. I think it's pretty clear what's going on right now is that this boycott is there because basically they want Facebook to muzzle Trump, which I don't think you should do on the basis he's the president of the United States, and among other things. But Facebook refused because they said, hey, he above anyone, he deserves free speech just as much as you do. And they've defended that. In fact, they're doubling down on it. So, as it says in Bloomberg, Facebook Incorporated defended its policies on hate speech amid an advertising boycott to push the social media company to do more. Nick Clegg, the vice president of global affairs, said, "We have an industry-leading record in how we deal with dark side of the internet." Let's hear. Dozens of brands are putting their social media advertising budgets on hold and in a condemnation of divisive and racist content aimed particularly at Facebook and Instagram. Microsoft Corp, the third largest advertiser on Facebook last year, became one of the latest in a rapidly expanding list on Monday. Starbucks Corp and PepsiCo among other big companies that announced they are curtailing ad spending. Facebook has no incentive to profit from hate on its site, Clegg said, adding that people who use the platform are against such posts as well, but disagree about how solutions are implemented. He states, they don't like to see hateful and inflammatory content on their news feed. Everyone is against hate. It's a question of what you do about it. Now let's look at this post again. And again, I find this to be problematic. When the looting starts, the shooting starts. People say that this is hate speech, that this incites violence. But again, while it could be interpreted that way, it doesn't actually say that we are going to shoot you. It says, hey, it could be interpreted like, hey, if you start looting, the police will shoot you. I have seen posts on Facebook and Twitter where when this thing all first started, they were actually cheering on the looting. They were saying, yeah, burn these cities to the ground, tear down these statues. That is inciting violence. And yet, when you see Pepsi and Starbucks, they're not bringing up those types of posts when it comes to boycotting Facebook or, hey, you got to stop using Facebook. They're just bringing up what Trump is saying. And again, what Trump says is problematic. I'm not actually defending the man. But this is not about, curbing hate speech. It's about curbing what these corporations view as hate speech. And they will let certain things slide. And here's the thing. If you are a platform, you have to let it all through. It's either all okay, outside of illegal statements, of course, or none of it's okay. That's what they call the South Park philosophy. That it was like that issue in the Cartoon Wars episodes, which interestingly, you can't stream on HBO Max, so pick up the discs, where basically Comedy Central did not want to make fun of the Prophet Muhammad because they were threatened with violence. And Stan said, look, you have to. Free speech is on the line. Either everyone is okay to be made fun of, or nobody is. And that's my stance too. People can say hateful, vile things. I can hate what they're writing as much as they want. As long as they are not directly inciting violence, it has to stay. Heck, if they're writing stuff on Facebook that I truly consider to be that hateful, you know what? I know not to be friends with that person. But hey, you know what happens when you muzzle these people and you don't know that the baker is a white supremacist because they've been muzzled on Facebook? Well, guess what? You're going to give them their business and you don't know exactly who they are. Not that it's going to matter too much, because as pointed out down here, the boycott is unlikely to do much damage to Facebook's revenue, as it has more than 8 million advertisers, the BMO capital markets analyst Daniel Salmon said in a research note. He added that the bigger financial impact could stem from greater pressure on Facebook to invest in safety and security in the coming years. So basically, there's so many people advertising on Facebook that this boycott isn't going to mean much of anything. In fact, I think the boycott will kind of come to a fairly quick resolution, because a few months will go by, nothing will really change, and then they're going to realize, well, wait, why are we not advertising on Facebook where all the eyeballs are? Let's go back to Facebook. That's just how it is. That is how it is. So, look, I know this is a controversial one, most likely, but I believe in free speech, and I say, hey, you know what? If you're an idiot, then may you die by your words. So, and that also might be, by the way, that holds true for Trump. Trump is definitely not helping his case for re-election by using Twitter. Like, first thing he should do, he should get off Twitter, but whatever. So, anyway, I'm going to end it right there, but I would like to know, what do you think of this Facebook boycott? Do you agree with it? And if so, why? And if not, why not? And hey, maybe you agree with a Facebook boycott in concept, but maybe you disagree with what's being boycotted. Maybe you think that there's a bigger issue that should be addressed here. I would love to know what your thought is on all of that. So, you know the drill. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. And with that done, wow, we went longer than I thought we would today. We went a lot longer. So, it's time now to read some comments, and quite a few were left. So, thank you for sending them. So, let's go over the questions, the comments. George says, don't listen to typical scam artists. It may take some time, but you will see them in court. I don't know exactly what that was in reference to, but, you know. RLI says, your channel is bigger than a lot of people's in secondary. Who cares as long as they're happy? Yeah, I know, and that was kind of the point I was making when I did that rant earlier. Let's see here. Kevin says, why would they call you that? So what if you got another opinion than the next person? Well, some people are really hurt when you have a different opinion than theirs. And by the way, I think the Twitter mob contributes to that a little bit. I think if you are and not just Twitter, Facebook, maybe Facebook more, because if you're on Facebook, you're going to congregate with people that you agree with. And I know family members who have actually started like blocking friends because of their political opinions. Like, they don't want to. First of all, there's no conversation to be had on social media. There just is none. But they really don't want to have that conversation, so they start blocking people. And if someone says something that's contradictory to them, they remove it, and they create a bubble. They create a bubble. And you cannot tell them that what they think is different. Now, I am open to being proven wrong. It's not been very effective with the mask things, though. I mean, I'm sorry, but the people who say the mask don't do anything, your evidence is so much weaker than the people who say you should wear masks. Mainly because the people who say you're wearing masks actually have doctorates and things like that. So, you know. But, yeah, some people just really do not like being told something else. So, anyway. There's my dad. He's giving me good vibes. Thank you, Dad. And Anderson says, I remember when you used to think Lyft was better for Uber than drivers. Yeah, remember those days? By the way, if anyone here hasn't given a thumbs up yet, feel free to do so. Jeff says, hell from AZ, no longer in California. And Dark Road Run says, thank you for being a part of this community, Kevin. Well, you're welcome. Let's see here. Okay, I already addressed that one. Let's see what Savage Scientist, Ryan, and Lisa has to say. Yeah, Savage Scientist. Ling also does do live TV. I use YouTube TV, though. It just makes sense, you know. I already had the YouTube Red, which is now YouTube Premium, and I have Google Music, so it's like, well, YouTube TV was like the next logical thing. Let's see here. Ryan says, I sometimes watch live TV. I still have a cable, enjoy watching some of my shows as soon as they air. I'm going to be honest, there's only one live TV show that I really watch, and that's the main reason I keep YouTube TV. And I know I'm going to be made fun of, but who cares? I like watching Dr. Phil. I know he's not a real doctor, and you know you shouldn't really take advice from him, but I find the show fascinating. So that is really one of the only things that I use the YouTube TV to record. Savage Scientist says Amazon and then Netflix, and then that's a wrap for everyone. Well, I hope not. I mean, I do find like the streaming wars interesting because I know a lot of people hate them because it's not convenient. At the same time, though, I'm glad there's so many because it's like, no, look, competition. Like, I don't want one or two companies controlling what I watch this whole time. I want there to be, like, what's interesting about this whole cancel thing, when you have, like, Hulu and stuff pulling episodes of Golden Girls and stuff, is there's enough competition out there that you can cancel a service and you have somewhere to go. So if people don't like these decisions, they can cancel Disney Plus and say, hey, I don't like that you're removing scenes from movies and stuff like that. I'm going to cancel Disney Plus and go somewhere else, and Disney Plus might reconsider their position. Unless, of course, you cancel Disney Plus and go to Hulu, then, you know, Disney owns both. So, but I like how there's competition. It holds people accountable. So, Ryan says, I used to love watching Treasures from the Disney Vault on Turner Classic Movies, which was hosted by Larry Moulton, but sadly ended in September because of Disney Plus. Yeah. Roger Lisa says, I don't like Netflix too much. You'd be one of the few people who don't like Netflix, but I'd be curious to know why you don't, though. Aside from the fact that I think most of their original movies aren't very good. Let's hear only for Disney Plus to have a very small selection of vintage content. And yeah, Savage Scientist, I agree that Disney Plus will survive. Now, Savage Scientist says, I watch Fox News because it's fair and balanced, and I saw Bigfoot and a unicorn on the... Okay, that's good. That's good. I got a good laugh out of that one. Ryan says, I wish that more people would realize that streaming is the new cable and not DVD, Blu-ray, and 4K. I agree. I agree with that. And yeah, I see that a troll came on, but oh well. In fact, here let's just hide that user on the channel forever. So RBX is there and he's waving and his eyes are spinning because controversy. So Ryan says, do you plan on getting the new Laurel and Hardy Blu-ray that comes out tomorrow? I'm not sure if you are a fan of Laurel and Hardy. Oh, I love Laurel and Hardy. Laurel and Hardy are awesome. By the way, anyone who likes Laurel and Hardy, the movie about them, Stan and Ollie, is streaming on Stars. So if anyone has got one of those Stars accounts, 6 months of Stars for $25, check out Stan and Ollie on Stars. But yeah, I do love Laurel and Hardy, and I will be getting that. I actually have their March of the Wooden Soldiers in Blu-ray 3D, which is one of the weirdest 3D titles I own. But, the General says, I would say more member of the toxic junk food community. I see. So that's not tough love, the General. In fact, you know what? Like I said, once you start getting personal like that, you can go away. You can go away. So, anyway, do we have any final comments before we leave? It's been over 70 minutes. This is one of our longest episodes to date. Okay, well, anyway, we've caught up in everything like that. So anyway, that's where we are going to end today's episode of the Apptrepreneur Show. Thank you for joining me, even though, some of the topics were controversial. But hey, you know what? I don't care anymore. There's going to be a little bit of controversy on this channel. You might not agree with me. That's fine, as long as we talk about it maturely. Or if you can't talk about it maturely, there's plenty of other YouTube channels you can watch. So thank you for watching. I'd like to know what you think about everything, though. I always do. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.